Hello everyone watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. And for those that don't know, this is a podcast where we speak to influential people in the mortgage industry across mortgages, broking, network, lenders, just to give some, well, as it says, some insights into the industry and any kind of value adds that we can. So today I've got Gordon Henderson with me, who is the Recruitment Director of MAB. Got your title right?
Indeed, Marcus, good to see you.
Yeah, lovely to see you too. So if we could just start with, tell me about your financial services journey up to this point.
Wow, okay, so I know I don't look it, thank you for noticing, but it did start quite a while ago. 1992, only commission hungry life insurance salesman or financial advisor back in the day. But that morphed into various sort of managerial roles. I was an advisor and manager and regional manager for certainly authorised for 17 years, and then worked in more regional roles with a couple of networks, a couple of single tie businesses, and massive change. And I actually left financial services about 12 years ago. There was a lot of change. There was a lot of change for me, a couple of mistakes as to who I was working with, and I entered into the wonderful world of agency recruitment, a world that you inhabit and run incredibly successfully. But that was in technology recruitment. I'm not a tech geek. I probably know more than most. And being with MAB as a nice little feeding line, it works really well in terms of tech enabling our industry and the businesses that work with us. But then financial services is a little bit like, you think you can get out, but it pulls you back in.
Mafia, isn't it? Mafia.
It is. That's exactly what it is. So 9 years ago next month, I was asked if I knew who Mortgage Advice Bureau was, to which the answer was no, and they said, don't worry, the business had floated on the stock exchange. When you float on the stock exchange, you need to be national. And I came along at a point where there was, I think, 11 advisors maybe in Scotland, some due to come in Northern Ireland also. And I came along and spoke Scottish at a point where nobody in the company did, and they thought, well, he sounds like he knows what he's doing, so give him the role. So I was regional sales director for Scotland and Northern Ireland and the north of England, as you tend to get that kind of little over the border forays in territories. And then that went quite well, and so for the last 6 years, come November, I've been Recruitment Director at Mortgage Advice Bureau.
Amazing. And that is, just to clarify, your role is bringing on companies as well, isn't it? So you bring on
absolutely. So recruitment it's a funny word. Sometimes some people find it an aggressive word, right? It does what it says on the tin. What am I going to do, Mr. Business Owner? I'm going to try and recruit you.
Sounds a bit militant, doesn't it?
Well, it does a little bit. New partnership. Recruitment is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's a process, and a process that we should be very proud of. If you get it right, I know what NRG do in terms of the whole profiling piece and working with partners to build businesses. My job is Recruitment Director, so I've got a great team, one business recruitment manager north and south, and that's what we do. We look at bringing new businesses from incumbent networks and a DA space into the wonderful world of Mortgage Advice Bureau.
Good. And we'll go through that more about the kind of people you're looking for. But talk to me about the market at the moment, how you finding it, because obviously you must see it, everyone sees it on an insular level, right? So a little bit like us in recruitment, we have such a broad range of how we're seeing stuff, but you must see some similarities there. How is it?
You're right. I've got a pretty, well, not unique position, right? But it's not necessarily common, because all I do, and luckily, as you well know and have been the recipient of, I love the sound of my own voice, right? So all I do is speak to businesses the length and breadth of the UK, all, not quite all day, every day, but every week, and that's from all the different networks, and the good points and the bad points in the DA world. And I think, where are we sitting? We're more than halfway through September already, and it feels that this year has whizzed by, because I think there's been a lot to focus on. We could list all the factors that are affecting the market and economics and foreign policies and all that kind of a thing, but I think we live in a cyclical world, don't we?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's arguing that we're pretty much at the bottom of a cycle.
And
we're probably about about 3, maybe even 4 months behind where I think a lot of people thought we would be. I think a lot of people would have thought we would have had another interest rate cut Before now, that's looking probably November-ish, I think.
Got my fixed
The
rate
general
finishing
election
November,
got,
fingers crossed.
well, yeah,
Come
the
on.
and, the general election got thrown in there. We're beyond all that now, and it doesn't really matter. These things work in cycles.
Yeah.
They've just got different things that affect them. So I think, things have plateaued a bit. There are definitely less brokers. There are definitely less broker firms.
Do you know it's 15% less brokers this year than when all this kicked
Is
off?
that right?
Yeah. But I think it's a
Wow.
good thing personally because you haven't lost your big business writers, have you? Let's be honest. You lose a
Yeah,
big chunk of the
no,
market.
no, you haven't. And in many ways, technology and efficiencies in process, they drive these things naturally, don't
Yeah.
they? What is it? 91% of all mortgages come through intermediaries, something like that.
Yeah.
90-10 doesn't really
99% now.
matter.
Yeah, it's nuts.
You're getting into
We were talking about
fractions.
this earlier. You know what's interesting is that since people have got more access to more mortgages and more access to education, they're doing less. More is coming through brokerages. I think that just goes to show that the more people understand it, the more they know they don't understand it.
Look, absolutely, it's the value of advice. I think, I used to ask people what percentage of first-time buyers do you think will be millennials in the next 12 months, and I didn't have an answer. I just thought it sounded quite funny, just talking about the next wave and the next generation, and it's now, it's not. And again, I used to say to people talking about being able to deal with a younger, more tech-savvy client. Well, it's not a younger, more tech-savvy. Everybody's tech-savvy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, everybody is used to dealing in a certain way, and I think there's still a tranche of our world where people are, the good brokers, the good broker firms. There's absolutely nothing in top drawer, but they're not incorporating, they're not catching up with the changing habits of consumers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big push in what will AI, generative AI. There's lots and lots of chat about it, right, and a lot of nonsense about it as well. But it will change how vanilla business is done.
I think for us, it's
scale.
more that you can get to go out and shake hands because you're not dealing with the crap that you used to have to deal with typing stuff in.
So-
Do you know? I think it's helping us rather than taking our job.
Do you know what? I think it absolutely is, because when these things happen and when there's lots of change and when there's lots of uncertainty, you can still get a mortgage, you can still sell protection. Nothing is broken,
Yeah.
right? And when I speak to businesses, we're not assuming anything is broken. We're looking at, from a business first approach, would things work better as a synergy and opportunity with us?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, there's a lot of knee-jerk stuff, and there is a lot of chat about it. But the basics don't change. I think in the uncertainty, people are looking for advice, and ultimately people buy people.
Yeah.
That's why a firm like your own has got the strength and the personal relationship building.
This face. That's what it is.
It is.
I generate those wrinkles.
The face that launched 1,000 ships. And we're in Southampton, aren't you? So, maybe go out there and whack Nansen against another boat. But yeah, it's interesting. We're talking about the marketplace. You can analyse it and you can dissect it, but out of change comes opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity in the marketplace, and there will continue to be for years. And that's not because some people are getting it wrong. It's because people are looking for a different resource now. A different solution.
Do you think if you're not adapting to tech, do you think you'll just be left behind? Do you know if you're just thinking we've always done it like this?
And there's lots of phrases, aren't there, about, not the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of those most adaptable to change, all of these different things. And that's what it is. The problem that you've got. With change normally comes technology, doesn't it? Technology should enable what you're doing. Why would you not use technology to automate a large part of what you do? So I think that's the problem. You get businesses, you get large DAs, you get certain networks who've got technology that's clunky at best, and they talk about spending X, Y, and Z and rolling it out. But these are long-term plays, aren't they? In terms of, in terms of that piece. But through change comes opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. Whether that's changing consumer habits, how you go about your distribution, how less reliant you are on the vanilla mortgage and protection piece, and the ancillary services to client, being the conversation today with the business all about being a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
How do you be that go-to financial?
We had that conversation all the time about that with like even with not selling protection, it blows my mind because someone else is talking to your client. You're giving someone else the opportunity to speak to them. It just seems nuts that you don't keep everything in house.
So when I was an advisor for 17 years, yes, I do have a good memory. Finance, we would say that protection is the cornerstone of all financial planning, and that's not changed.
Yeah.
It absolutely hasn't changed. Consumer duty, if you pulled two things out from it, it would be, protecting best outcomes for clients. That's got to be protection-led, surely, and assuming and protecting customers against future foreseeable harm.
Yep.
So you've got to have that at the bedrock, and it's the right thing to do, and it generates significant revenue.
I was talking to a broker the other day, not a client, he was just in the gym, and he was saying to me, "Oh, we don't really sell protection." And I said, "But you can't not sell it now. It's literally it's in there. You have to be able to sell it." He said, "We're just too busy." And also, they're a new build business, which blows my mind. So these are new people on the market, new families, not protected, and brokers to say they're too busy is nuts.
It is, but the good new build businesses have got that protection team.
Yeah.
They've got that. They've got the new leads coming in. They're coming off site. They might be on site. They're there at the weekend, and they've got so many sites coming in, and that's fine. And having the right advisors to do that, but then making sure the retention team is there, but the protection opportunities. And it's an MAB thing. It's an inbuilt process, but 80% roughly of all mortgage advice bureau clients who, when we position protection and the opportunity to have a protection review, will say yes to it. That doesn't mean that 80% do it, but it's a very, very high take up because, we talk about more tech savvy. That's not just how you use a system, it's more being more aware of what's out there in the marketplace.
And you've driven that quite a lot. You've driven that a lot from the last couple of years in regards to the tech side of the business. That's been a big game changer.
Yeah. So the Mortgage Advice Bureau, not alone, but very proud to have our own proprietary tech. We've got a big tech team, including data scientists. We have a development team. We purchased Fluent a couple of years ago with a really significant tech capability. We also own an external development company. I think we spent 6.6 million on tech last year. That's not giving any kind of commercial secrets away. That's what we but that's our tech. From our CTO Lucian down to his amazing team Matt Lowndes there at the forefront of innovation. And tech is interesting. Just because you can build something doesn't mean you should. Just because a system is out there, it doesn't mean it's going to be good for advisors. I think there's been a lot of issues with networks that have had big wealth arms where they've said we'll try to do a one size fits all and squeeze it down, and it's been an absolute it's been an absolute disaster.
They're the brokers that I hear moaning, when the system was built for financial advice. It's way too clunky for mortgages. It's got to be a one size fits all.
It's a bolt on. You look at the register. I mean, I was back in the day, all 17 years I was a financial advisor, so I could do a pension one day and a buy to let the next. But of course, things are diversifying, they are specialising, and so they should do. The amount of financial advisors on the register that hold dual authorisations between wealth and pensions and mortgages decreases every year because they're seeing that as separate parts: equity release, commercial. That's it. But tech should absolutely enable that process. It should automate the process, and in many ways it does. It's been a big push, and it's to get a bit pitchy about MAB. It's people are joining us for support and growth, but technology underpins that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, actually. I mean, we bashed the tech drum there, but when people are looking at networks and deciding who to go, obviously you're going to bang the MAB drum, but what do people need to think about? Because you can get cheap networks, right? You can get someone just to put your business through, but actually for growing businesses, and I'm not just saying this because we work with you and I'm blowing smoke up your ass. We want to work with those sort of businesses that want to grow. So what do people have to think about when you're working with a network as to what you need?
If I have a discussion with a business owner, it doesn't matter whether it's a 20 advisor, City of London, serious high net worth client type business, it's very, very complex, or a much smaller business in a more provincial part of the UK. I think you have to come at it from a business first approach. For me, and it's never that MAB's thing is blue and yours is red and blue is better than red, or we're going to try and shave on rate. We're never going to win on rate. But what we do when it comes to business planning is say, okay, look, I think most business owners, if they look back and you ask them, have you achieved what you thought you would have achieved? If we'd looked back 2 years, 3 years, they haven't.
Nope.
Because they've plateaued, they've been stuck, they've been busy fools, they've been busy juggling a lot.
Everyone's a really good broker, but it doesn't mean you're good, or doesn't mean you've ever run a business before. You're an exceptional business owner.
One of the things I'll start with is, leads will drive every business decision that a business makes, won't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, if they want to get into that employed model. So rather than tell me that you're a 9 out of 10 mortgage broking firm, what are you on a score out of 10 as a lead generation company? If I was to ask you how good you are at generating leads, what would your score be out of 10?
Yeah.
And so, and from that, I think it's really straightforward. You can make it sound really complicated. We sit at a position of the second largest distribution, listed on the stock exchange, all of these different things, and it's very, very important. But I think if you deal with the basics really well, then everything else follows. So it's a question, right? 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. What do you actually want as a business owner?
Yeah.
I can look back at what's happened, but all of that's relevant, but it's not as relevant as what happens next. So what do you actually want out of it? And what are the key objectives, and break them down into something that's actually worth the objectives to go for. And I say this to all business owners, like, the fact that it's a key objective means you haven't done it, right? Yeah. And generally, there's 2 reasons in my book why you haven't done something. You either don't know how to do it, or you don't have the time.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything else, right? So it's like you don't have the strategy, or you don't have the support mechanism around, you don't have that frame of reference, and you don't have the time. So who can provide you with a bit more strategy, and how can a business help take some of the heavy lifting away from what you do? And that's just experience, that's model, and it's not for everybody, and that's fine, because people can have lifestyle businesses that are going to be at a certain size. Not everybody needs to be a 50 advisor business, and most aren't. Of course,
but it's the lifestyle businesses are the 15% that we've just lost. I bet if you look through the figures, I bet if you look through those, that big chunk of people that have just gone, and those ones doing 3 or 4 in a good market, you can't sustain it on 1 or 2 in a bad market.
And the shame is, Marcus, that a lot of them will have come to the point of thinking, what do I do? Just turn the key in the door here and walk away from it. Have they actually created any value? Because I probably got the wording wrong, right? But people say, well, what's the most important part of starting a business? Make a profit, right? You go, right, I definitely agree with that. In my book, the second most important thing is, how the hell do you get out of the business?
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise you just keep going and you're stretched. And that just comes down to strategy. But what it really comes down to is best practice.
It's tough if you're looking at like a 3 or 4 man band. I mean, especially recruitment, same for mortgages. Like, not many get sold for decent money. I mean, what do people have to think about when you say about creating value in your business? What's the my lights have just gone off.
You have all the normal. There's a due diligence process. You have all the normal metrics about. The most basic ones are you're on an employed model, self-employed model, client bank size, product end dates, out of commission, clawback opportunities. What actually sits in there, and then it comes down to multiple of gross profit before tax. But when you're in a market where we are, there's no acquisitions. There's no big acquisitions going on out there. People would have to have some serious balance sheets to be able to say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. business owner, I'll take those 4 advisors and there's £500,000. Thanks very much. It doesn't happen right there, because what you're doing is you're not buying a business, you're buying that person.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's how does a business owner really detach themselves from that and work on the business rather than being the business.
Yeah. It's different for financial advice, isn't it? Because you've got that platform of something tangible, of recurring income.
You've got residual income, you've got, absolutely. But of course there's value in mortgage and protection businesses. Absolutely there is, and mergers and acquisitions are forming a much, much greater part of our world.
Yeah.
You could put a number to it, but everybody knows there are networks up for sale with Tenant Lime.
Yeah.
Be acquired by LSL. There are rumours around others just now. We are in that contracting space.
Yeah. What do you think that is? Do you think it's just power in numbers? Do you think it's easy? I mean, we've seen it's happened a lot with lenders and stuff lately as well, just in regards to.
None more so than product providers as well. Protection providers, the big ones are being, you will get that. I mean, there's a finite point to economies of scale, aren't there? And you can't have 4 tech systems don't all go into one. 4 operations directors don't go into one sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So there is a plateau to it, but there will be less networks.
Yeah.
There will be less big companies. It would be completely remiss of me to go, well, they'll be there and they'll be there, Mortgage Advice Bureau, with the backing that we have and
Yeah,
where
you will
we
be.
sit within the marketplace. I think it's something like 22% of all of our advisors actually work for a business that we own, or we have a strategic investment, or one of our partners do. So
Yeah.
that's why we operate as a
Just
broker.
touching on that as well, Gordon. If people, because I don't think everyone knows that, but you invest in quite a lot of your businesses, don't you? So
Yeah.
there's a big chunk of business. So if you genuinely want that out or de-risking, there's not hundreds of networks to do that either. There's something, and also there's not many people buying businesses. So it's a big part of de-risking is actually getting invested in by your network.
Yeah, absolutely. We got businesses that will join us to get access to that strategy and to sale. It's a great thought. It's an admirable thought. If I had a business, I'd want to go, right, in X amount of time, I'd like £1 million for it, thanks, or whatever that figure might be. And I'm not being flippant to business owners, but they are always round numbers.
Yeah,
right?
so it's a million.
They're always
It's like the £1 million profit mark. Is why a million?
I want to advise that banks £100,000 a year has got their own client bank. You go, well, that's quite. I've not heard that before. But but it depends what people are looking for. But how much time do business owners get just to stop, put the foot on the brake, and go and stand back and timeline it?
Yeah.
A lot of them can look back and with a lot of regret sometimes go, well, I haven't achieved what I'm talking about. What are you trying to do? Let's start with what you want out of it first. Be realistic about it and agree that that's a worthy goal to strive for, and then work in partnership with big infrastructure, big team, quite a bit of...
Is there a business coaching element to that? In the sense that you're trying to, like I say, you have most of us have never been to business school or anything. We're just good at our jobs, and then you end up working for yourself. So as you grow, it's quite new for lots of people, isn't it? We have to give advice to people all the time because they're great mortgage brokers. It doesn't mean you understand business through and through.
It's without a shadow of a doubt. So if you say, well, why do people? Who do you speak to? Why do people join MEB? It's support, but support comes in lots of different ways. And support is not a prescription of, well, we know the best way to do it, here's how to do it. Because you just can't do that. We got 213 appointed reps, that's all that we have. They just happen to be bigger as a whole. There's kind of 10 advisors as an average per firm. We've got a couple of Goliaths, and we've got smaller firms than that. But the businesses that do best, if you have got access to consultative and strategic input, the businesses that do best leverage that to their own ends. But just because it exists doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
But the businesses that do best will leverage the heck out of what you've got. And in my book, success is sitting with a business. It's not a business owner in 18 months achieving what they said 18 months ago, because they might not do it. And in actual fact, in most cases, what they thought they wanted to achieve will change.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to write a long goal, isn't it? Because by the time you're halfway there, it's no.
But success, in my book, is what you become in the pursuit of that worthy goal.
Yeah.
It's not the actual 100 of that itself, or 10 of that, or whatever it is. It's what you become as an individual and a business as you pursue something that is worthy to pursue. And that's where I think we win. And I know I have personal experience of dealing with business owners who, are very, very kind about and complimentary about how we go about our business.
Yeah.
If you truly understand what it's doing, here's the analogy, right? Just to bring it around to you, you've got an amazing team, but that you're incredibly close to, and you know what you're supporting their ambitions in their own individual careers within divisions within your firm, and I know that, and you're not alone in that, but that's not common all the time. It's just, and it's not, especially not in an agency world, and in a network where 80% of the firms that you have got 2 advisors or less. That's the reality of the network space.
Yeah.
We don't. That MEB don't do that.
Does it make sense for people to do it? I see so many. We help them obviously, and we try and assist 1 or 2 man bands. And there is a thing about power in numbers. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a hard gig when it's just a cut. Well, that's why it becomes a lifestyle business, because, and then even getting that, because you got 5 2-man bands fighting to get to 5-man bands. It just seems it seems like a finite amount you can work on.
So I always make kind of business owners laugh with this because we live in a network space that's obsessed with advisor numbers, and I always say to everybody that advisor headcount is vanity.
Yeah.
Why have 12 advisors and 5 of them really aren't doing very well? Very often when we speak to businesses, by the time they've joined, they've actually reduced the numbers.
Yeah.
But miraculously, they're doing the same levels of business.
I speak to so many businesses that do that. Get rid of their bottom 3 and then increase their revenue.
The business owner's getting getting more sleep at night on the back of it.
Yeah.
And I think, if to go back to the business consultancy piece, if you've got that, then the consultancy part becomes a catalyst to things happening.
Yeah.
And some things that you can't explain but you can't deny happen when you align yourself with the right people. That's not me as an individual. That's not Brodnicki or Gareth Herbert or Rob Gent or any of the wonderful people that we've got here. It's a process.
Yeah.
And it's understanding what you actually want out of it.
I suppose you're coming from a position of authority as well, given that you've done it for other businesses. You can see some small businesses that have turned into medium size who have been bought into and that kind of thing. Like it's a tangible testimony.
There is no greater a satisfaction than being able to meet up with a business owner that had a brought to MAB, if you like, for them to be re-signing contracts, and they're at different levels now. And again, it's not all about advisor numbers. It's about lead sources. It's about their journey learning as business owners, their and mistakes as well, but them leveraging what you've got or what you've helped position them with.
Yeah.
That's a real satisfaction, but you like to see that with your pals, don't you?
Yeah. Well, we get that. It's like us watching businesses that we recruit for grow. It's a great feeling because they've taken your advice and then they're growing. It sounds cheesy when you say that's why we're in it, but it's a great feeling. That's someone taking your advice. It's still an ego thing, right? But it's someone taking your advice and winning off it is amazing.
Yeah, but it is. But in what we do, right, to get a bit philosophical about it in terms of what we're trying to do, and I know that you're not an agency recruiter, if you like. You are working with businesses on relationships to help them grow and achieve through that talent acquisition piece. The analogy is there for what myself, Nicola Adams and Dan White do and the wider team at MAB, because there is no greater satisfaction than working with somebody and seeing them achieve something. And it's a little bit sort of karma-like, if you like, but you can truly have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want first, because it all comes round, and that will come round. You'll have candidates that you first spoke to, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, pick a number,
15
years ago, who are coming back to you for a reason that you might not be able to explain, but you're then placing them at that.
I've got some of my best clients now are candidates of 10, 15 years ago. Because you've kept them in their journey. It's nice, and it always sounds a bit bullshitty when you talk about recruitment, but it's a genuinely lovely feeling to help someone.
It is, and I love conversations with you, full stop, right? But enjoy this sort of conversation, because when you get going and you think, do you know what, I actually really enjoy what I do.
It's weird talking about it, because with recruiters from the outside, people don't know, do they? We're money hungry cowboys who are trying to place people for cash. We're people brokers, but actually there's a joy to it, because we could do this. We could earn the same money anywhere. There's a joy to it of actually helping someone's, I think, the biggest decision in their life. I think it's massive. It's just it's a joy to do it.
There is. The first business I ever brought to MAB when I was regional sales director, sold his business. Pretty much 5 years after joining, having grown it fourfold, for a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course that means a lot. The here and now and the growth of Mortgage Advice Bureau in my role as recruitment director. I'm an employee of MAB. That's what I get paid to do.
Yeah.
But the upside, and that's great, and I enjoy it. But the upside, the real value part to it is that build, isn't it? It's that progression, and seeing you get businesses. I mean, I see MAB from when I joined, and and the growth, and you think, well, I've been party to quite a bit of that actually, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
And you seeing your team grow, you seeing businesses that you work with.
Do you know what? It's genuinely, it's lovely having this conversation, because you do kind of, especially at the moment when it's tough, you do get caught up in the like the hard bits of it. You know, you actually forget a little bit, like, oh no, I love this. I actually love doing that bit, because it's tough to it's tough to help people to grow at the moment too. So you're feeling everything.
It's really tough. You know this, and we know this. Can you work with MAP? It is a really, really flat mortgage advisor market. And for businesses who have maybe spent the last 20, 22 months easily going down in numbers, they've cut their cloth accordingly, whatever analogy you want, but they've consolidated in the last 2 years. And that might not be a bad thing. They're probably making the same amount of money. They might be making more profit, but they have consolidated.
Yeah.
They are compelling reasons to move regulatory space. They have to be really, really, really big, right? And that does make, and people are being much more aggressive in the marketplace in terms of networks, and some people
are money around.
Agree with that, but they're throwing a lot of money around. They're throwing a lot of deals about, and you know, I don't.
What do you think that is? Do you think that's just trying to grab a bigger piece of the pie for when the market comes back, or do you think it's just a, not desperation, that's the wrong thing to say, but just you need figures, right? You start losing people and it becomes a spiral.
It's retention. There are some out there that will retain at all costs, and betting against future revenue. Because if you're going to give somebody some significant sums of money up,
gamble,
throw deals, you better hope that you've got a good amount of time for you're betting against future revenue if you're giving it to them now, and it's like, how does that make sense in a market where, you know, from trust economics to Putin to Israel to general elections to all these different things, would you have made some of the decisions?
If you look back, well, do you know what? I'd gamble on the next couple of years. I think we're only because I cannot have any more wait and see years. I don't think it can happen again.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it was Pete actually, wasn't it? I think in the last year, Peter Brodnicki, when he said 2024, if you can survive through 2024 and you'll thrive. And I even listening to him then, as naive as I am, and he's a great businessman, I was thinking, no, I think we'll smash this year. I just think like things are turning around. And then we had so many wait and sees that he was absolutely spot on. You know,
it's like a new manager coming into a football team and getting rid of players and changing them, and it's a transitional year.
Yeah.
It's 2024 a transitional year. 2023 was a storm. It was an absolute storm. We lost lots of talent in the industry. A lot of people went through some really, really hard times.
Yeah.
Some stages closed, mortgage broker firms closed. Some real difficulties in there. That was a storm. 2024, we're September. I think it was expected to be more buoyant by now.
Yeah.
But I think 2024 is a question of getting ready to get ready.
Get
ready.
Amber.
Have you got the right tech, the right people, the right support? Because it is a cyclical market. We've already seen it. It's rate things. We got an interest rate cut in November. Say you can already see it. There is a big pent up demand, and I think there's a big pent up demand in businesses as well to grow. Which benefits both of us, right? But it's are they ready to take their unfair share of the marketplace?
We have to have a bit of a gamble though as a business, right? So if we can say it the same as ours, we've gambled this year in the sense that we've now got a team who are ready for a buoyant market. We didn't have 2 years ago. But that's come out of our pocket, right? Because it hasn't come out of profit because it's been a tough couple of years. So we've taken a big gamble. So I think we can, when we're saying to mortgage brokers, like the people that go for it now, it's really hard to, some people are risk adverse and that kind of thing. It's hard to know when to pull the pin and go for it. But we kind of we're backing ourselves to say, look, we're doing it. You need to.
It's like everything else, isn't it? You've got to do your research. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, whether it's an advisor, whether it's a business, timing is everything, and the timing is never right, and it's always right.
Yeah.
If
we wait for the good market, the time's gone.
It's like the time's gone, and then you just find yourself on the same treadmill. It's just got quite a bit faster.
You try and get a bigger piece of the market when it's good.
And you get, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the timing is everything. But there's a pent up demand definitely for businesses to go right. We've weathered that particular thing. What comes next? How do I actually get out of this? How do I future proof a business, we can rewind back to talking about tech and what that will do. Tech's only going in one direction.
Yeah, it's the worst it's ever going to be.
That's not us. That's not us. Where everything's settled down now, because AI will run a horse and cart through how you do vanilla business.
Yeah.
It will do. We're doing a lot of work on that just now, and a lot of exploratory work on that, and that's really interesting. But we're in a fortunate position where we can, and we've got that proprietary tech. But we're dealing with a lot of businesses just now. It's really interesting. A lot of people looking at moving.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? It's like a whole. You feel it like an industry whole, because obviously, you're like me. You speak to hundreds of business owners, so because that's what we feel like. Like you said, then it's like a pent up. Like people are just ready to go. It's
yeah. I think so, and I think they thought they would have been let loose a little bit earlier than this. I think everyone's just kind of going, yeah, everything's all right, isn't it? We've got good business levels. We're making money. That's fine, but I think if you're not moving forward at a great rate of knots, then you're standing still.
Yeah.
The best way to predict the future is to design it right. Is to go rather than what do I do with the here and now and the same systems and the same people around me. What do I actually want?
Yeah.
What do I want? And if that means moving to a different business partner,
what does it look like?
Then how do I do that? What due diligence do I go through? What business planning to do? Have they got the right people? And people buy people. It doesn't matter whether people are joining Mortgage Advice Bureau or we're investing in a business, or initially you're speaking to candidates. People buy people, and it's really important. And that will never change.
Well, that is why, apart from the really obvious admin vanilla business about AI taking over, the people by people thing and the amount of variables that goes into mortgages, especially the more specialist stuff, it just. We're a long way. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, right? Because we're all going to get taken over by the robots eventually. But we're a long way off of that affecting the people by people business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Can you ever see it? What was the buzzword a few years ago? Robo advice, and banks are going to
robo advice. We had to get a room full of bloody mortgage brokers to give it.
Went to you've exactly. You got a lot. They should remain nameless, right? But very high profile online mortgage broking where there's a team of 30 advisors.
Yes. That's what I was thinking. Hilarious. They're constantly recruiting for brokers to work in robo advice.
And somebody takes that, and none of them sold protection. Didn't even have a protection proposition. No. So it's like, no. I think.
Well, they became lead generation businesses for protection.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them are, trying to backtrack. We're not. Trying to go back on the data that they have and look at that. I think
the issue with a lot of those were they weren't run by mortgage people, right? They were tech firms who came in and saw a market that was a bit antiquated and thought they could flip it on its head, but actually, I think they missed the people version of it.
Yeah, and I think somebody said a couple of years ago, is MAB a fintech business disguised as a mortgage business? And the answer is no. We've got a real handle on technology, but we think as a broker. That's why we never enter network awards, because we just don't operate as a network.
Yeah.
Of course we're a network.
Yeah.
But we don't operate as a network.
Well, they call yourself a fintech business if you want a high multiplier when you're vlogging yourself.
Maybe. But yeah, so it's interesting. I think, crikey. This Christmas trees kicking about and parties getting booked and all sorts of stuff going on just now, and we're sitting in mid-20s weather.
I know, it's nuts.
You down in lovely Southampton and me in MAB head office in Derby, but that stuff's getting planned, and these things will be upon us before we know it. But I think 2025, 2026, big years of opportunity.
Amen.
For businesses that are looking to get into the right.
Well, I keep on to tell my bank manager, so. Right. That's really. I said I'd only keep half an hour, mate. But honestly, as you know, I could talk to you all day. So we'll finish on these. But I want to, because you speak to so many brokers as a whole. What advice can you give to brokers when they're looking to kind of go out on their own and they're looking to grow? I know we talked about obviously not just the network side of things, but what are the mistakes you see and what are the successful people doing?
So. You can break everything down. I say to business owners, a very, very complex business of multi-million pounds worth of turnover, that Mortgage Advice Bureau is at its base nothing more than a best practice model. It's got some incredibly complex bits to it. But if you don't follow best practice, you inevitably make the same mistakes as everybody else. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
But if you only follow best practice, you're only a couple of steps behind the people that do it best. Now, you can't do that either, because you're human. and you'll never do that, right? But do you have best practice and process to tap into? And so that's making sure that the planning process behind what you're getting into is really thorough. But again, it all starts with the end result. For me, it all starts, what are you trying to achieve? If you're setting up as your own, or you're moving from one network to another, or DA to network speed, what are you actually trying to achieve? Not now in the present, and it's very important to be present, but what are you trying to achieve? How often do you measure it? Have you got the right people around you? And that's not somebody pitching to you.
No, but it's true. Some people haven't got the end goal in sight, have they? They haven't even thought about that.
Challenging you, and working with businesses, individuals, businesses that are looking to that next move and saying, this is what I want to do, and actually saying why.
Yeah, amazing.
Just explain to me why, and keep asking why, because if the why is strong enough, the how you will
Work
do the
out.
how.
Yeah.
You will work it out, but you'll work it out better with the right people around you. And that comes back to what you said earlier. It's consultative.
Yeah. So John, I honestly think we lose so much business from challenging people, because people just want you to go, I want a mortgage broker now, and you say, okay, cool, why? Like, if there's no real need, what problem are we solving?
Yeah.
Because actually all you want is numbers, and no one's going to give you all their leads or all their. Do you know what I mean? And people were I think they're a bit taken aback, like we're not just order taking, but that's the magic of it, right? You're coming to someone, we charge money because we should be challenging you.
You know, absolutely. And I speak with businesses initially, and on an ongoing basis that have joined MAB, and every year or twice a year we'll shake the tree, right? And we'll shake the tree so blooming hard that we'll see what's stable and what falls off, you know. And I think business owners, the average mortgage broking business, forgive me, business owners, you get an entrepreneurial, really good mortgage broker, male or female, and all of a sudden they become an accidental business owner, and they recruit their pal or somebody that they used to work with there in their own light, and they're too close to the business and they pay them too much money, and then they go forward and they're not seeing their family, and now they're running a business, and then they decide to get an office, and then they've got 2 or 3, and they're not following best practice or process, and that's not because they're not any good, it's because they don't have access to it. So there's that consultation piece is everything. It's, you know, the people that have got significantly successful businesses have made all the mistakes, so why would you not tap into them? Why would you not access them? You know, to bring it right to us, that's what we do best, because we've got a smaller number of businesses that we're far closer to, and we link businesses together, because there's always a learning experience in lead gen and recruitment policy and marketing. It's that shared piece, and it's a lonely existence out there as a business, and it's particularly in a DA world, because you just don't have that.
And you don't know what you don't know, do you? You're not. Exactly. You know, it's very, like you say, very insular. Amazing, thank you, mate. Like I said, now we're now 13 minutes over, but I appreciate your time. Genuinely, I could talk to you all day. But
I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. Appreciate your time, Gordon, and I'll speak to you. If anyone wants to, quickly. All of your socials will be on our socials, but if anyone wants to get hold of you just to discuss anything, just a good chat about potentially, whether it's moving network or just want to speak to you, what's the best way to get hold of you?
I think, look, it's real straightforward, right? We all use LinkedIn day in, day out. Just go on Gordon Henderson, just ping me, all my contact details are on there. Have an initial, very, very confidential chat, share some experiences, chat about the marketplace, like we've been doing today. Understand more about your business, and if we can offer any kind of advice that's useful now or on a pathway to maybe even working together, that would be amazing.
Good stuff. Lovely. As I said, really appreciate your time, mate. I will catch up with you soon.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
Peace.